possibly be here for a minute? Is this one here for a minute? I'm not standing on a stool. With my luck, I'll fall off.
So great to see you here. It's a treat to be here.
You ready to go? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Newark Liberty International Airport, the third largest airport hub in the nation. I am Diane Gutierrez-Cacchetti, Commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Transportation, and today is my privilege to introduce Philip D. Murphy, New Jersey's 56th governor. It is no secret that New Jersey is a vital link to national commerce, but also international commerce, a strategic connection for the movement of people, goods, and services along the I-95 corridor, most notably Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. And it is no secret that in order to maintain a competitive position in the ability to attract new markets and grow existing markets in New Jersey, we must have an integrated transportation network that is the state of the art, offering multimodal opportunities to residents and businesses alike. And it is no secret that Governor Murphy has made transportation a top priority of a successful economic growth strategy and mandated that we have returned our transit system to a place of national excellence, of which the Port Authority's AirTrain system plays a key role. It is no secret to me that we will achieve his transportation agenda because of his unwavering support to the betterment of New Jersey and all of its residents and the region. And so without further ado, it is my great privilege to introduce our Governor, Phil Murphy.
Thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, folks. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining us here at Newark Airport. Thank you, Commissioner, where are you, for that very generous introduction and for all of your extraordinary work. I'm pleased to be here both with Port Authority Executive Director Rick Cotton and Chairman of the Board of Commissioners Kevin O'Toole. Great to be with you guys. Also, Commissioner Kevin McCabe is in the house. Kevin, honored to be with you. Freeholder Director, the boss of the Union County Freeholders, Freeholder Kowalski, Betty Jane, always an honor to be with you. Catherine Cronin, who's overseeing the construction of our new terminal right out our right side here. Catherine, great to be with you. Doug Stearns, Acting Director, thank you for your joining us. I also want to give a shout out to our brothers and sisters in labor, in particular 32. BJ. Just checking. First things first, a big thank you to the crews here at Newark Liberty who worked to prepare the airport this weekend to ensure this airport kept running and passengers kept moving. The storm turned out differently than we thought, but if we had to do it over again, we would have done exactly what we did. And we take our hat off to the whole team here that kept this thing up and running through a very unpredictable weather weekend. We just rode, Diane and I and Doug and others, just rode the AirTrain from NJ Transit's Newark Airport Station to get here. We are a small number of the more than 11 million passengers that ride it every year, and it is the reason we're late this morning. So it is past time, having experienced it firsthand, that for the Port Authority to replace the AirTrain with a new and modern system that can better handle the needs of a growing airport. And this is a growing airport. The increase in the number of airlines who operate out of Newark, the increased flights from the incumbent. This is a bursting at the seams airport. So today we are calling, and I'm thrilled that they're with us. So many from the Port Authority are with us. So we do this in unison, calling for the Port Authority Board to take this up as soon as possible. This system first opened in 1996 and is now nearing the end of its useful life. So simple thought is, let's not waste money keeping it on life support. Let's invest in a modern and reliable AirTrain. When AirTrain breaks down, as it all too often does, particularly as we were discussing a short while ago in extreme weather, including extreme cold like today, Newark Liberty simply cannot function as it should. Passengers get delayed, airport personnel get to where they are needed. And the economic benefits of having one of the Northeast's busiest international air hubs right here at New Jersey, that whole rationale screeches to a halt. This is also, as Diane knows, is not just the Department of Transportation Commissioner, but as Chairwoman of the Board of NJ Transit. This is also a vital hub for NJ Transit and Amtrak, and directly connects Newark Liberty with the Northeast Corridor rail system. Repairs have become more costly and they take more time to complete, as many parts needed to repair the current system are scarce if they're still manufactured at all. As I say, 11 million riders a year on this system. They deserve more than a bubblegum and duct tape approach for meeting their flights. I think the Port Authority Rick will back me up here, the estimates that the cost to keep the AirTrain running for only another decade is roughly $400 million. Better yet, let's invest this money in building an entirely new airport transportation system now, a modern system to match the future vision we have for Newark Liberty. Moreover, we know that replacing AirTrain would be essentially self-financed through various revenue-generating mechanisms. You see the new Terminal 1 is taking shape. What do we say? We deliver a modern way for passengers to get to and from this new terminal. A new AirTrain will facilitate potential future development of Newark Airport beyond the current Terminal 1 project. This future development holds the promise for innovative public-private partnerships and the creation of many good union construction jobs. None of this can become a reality with the current AirTrain in place. We know what happens when we push needed infrastructure improvements into the future. Whether it's building a new tunnel under the Hudson River or simply getting NJ Transit to run better, let's stop playing catch-up. AirTrain is at its breaking point now. Let's learn from the lessons of the past. Let's get a new AirTrain built and let's get it moving now. With that, it is my pleasure to invite Executive Director of the Port Authority to say a few words, Rick Cotton. Rick?
Good afternoon. It is a pleasure to welcome Governor Murphy, Commissioner, to Newark Airport. What I'd like to start with is the Port Authority's commitment. We are committed to make our 3 airports globally leading airports. Unfortunately, we have a long way to go. Every single consumer survey puts our airports at the absolute bottom of the survey. That is indefensible and unacceptable. The way forward is simple, but hard to do. First, we have to rebuild our legacy infrastructure. We need new facilities, new terminals, new everything. Second, we need to improve the customer experience. We have embarked on that path, but we have a long way to go. Here at Newark Liberty, as the governor has pointed out, and you can see across the way, the Port Authority has broken ground on a new $2.7 billion Terminal 1, which will be state-of-the-art. In addition, the Port Authority has committed to a new $300 million consolidated car rental facility. So that brings our committed investment at this point in Newark to more than $3 billion. We will follow through on those commitments. Second, we have to improve customer service. It simply is not where it needs to be. And we have embarked on a dozen different customer service projects at Newark and at our other airports, and we are committed to improve. Now, we also recognize that the Newark AirTrain is beyond its design life. We are in the process of refreshing the capital plan, and I can assure you, Governor, as we prepare our staff recommendations and analysis for the board's consideration, we will embrace and recognize and give high attention and visibility to the priority of the Newark AirTrain. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'd now like to introduce the chairman of the Port Authority Board of Commissioners, Kevin O'Toole.
Thank you, Rick. Governor, Commissioner, thank you very much for coming here. Port Authority couldn't be better served than having the Executive Director, Rick Cotton, the reforms that we've seen over the last 14, 15 months, the minimum wage increase, the reforms, Rick Cotton, the ethics reforms, the diversity reforms, the veteran preferences, that's been coming out of the new leadership out of the Port Authority. You look across the way, the governor alluded to it, the ED alluded to it. Look across the way right there. Look at the iron workers out there in 10-degree weather. That is symbolic of what is going on in the Port Authority. Working hard 24/7, turning around the image and turning around the infrastructure in this region, led by Rick Cotton, the Commissioners McCabe, and all the wonderful people who work at the Port Authority. So, Governor, we hear you about the AirTrain. I will tell you that there is a deep commitment to your priorities and the priorities that were set out in the capital plan in 2016. It's the Bayonne Bridge, whether it's the Helix, bus terminal, Gateway, Terminal 1, $2.7 billion. You name it, we're doing it. We are turning around this agency that has been stagnated, that has been stigmatized, that has been mired in all kinds of issues of years past. This new leadership, working with Governor Murphy, Governor Cuomo, the legislators, the leaders, we're moving ahead, turning the page. So, Governor, we welcome your comments about the AirTrain. Recognize that it is a challenge. We will take those comments under advisement. We understand the challenges that are in front of us, and we look forward to working with you and our other colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. You guys did a good Thank you, Kevin and Rick. We'll take a few questions if you have them, please. I've not discussed it with Governor Cuomo, but our friends at the Port Authority do a very good job of making sure that the capital plan is well sussed out and balanced across the Hudson. It's just north, at the current estimate is just north of $2 billion. I think it's to be determined. To be determined. The one, I don't know, Doug, you still here? Yeah, Doug Stearns, who's the acting manager of the airport, reminded me if we get the path extension before you get AirTrain replaced, you're going to get explosion of people at the connecting transit point that we got on we took NJ Transit from Newark, so we took it one stop. And that main portal will explode. So sequencing that properly is something that we have to be very careful of. Michael. $400 million for the next decade to keep this propped up. $2.1 billion is the current estimate, I think, to replace the system entirely. It'll be the first time, so please. So this is not the first time I've been asked this, and I apologize. I'm going to give the same answer that I've given the past couple of weeks. I've got literally nothing new to add on this. We put three processes, in fact, in place almost instantly when we understood what had happened here, and as sick to our stomach as we were. One process was to look holistically at the environment in our state, in the environment for a sexual assault survivor. The Attorney General led that. He has put forward what we think is in this awful sphere, best in the nation sort of processes and mindset. There are two other processes that we put in place which have not come to fruition, one of which is an investigation led by a former Supreme Court justice into what the heck happened, and another one is a review of government policies and procedures. Separately, as you know, the legislature has initiated their own process, and we've been asked for countless times. We are cooperating fully as long as it's not political, as long as it's a whole of government approach, and as long as it's survivor-centric. The process, just to repeat something I've said before, the process as it relates to government policies and procedures, I have no reason to believe anybody, based on everything I know, didn't adhere to their legal and ethical and procedural obligations. The bigger question for me is we've got to revisit these obligations. And in the example I have used in the past, I will reuse again, forgive me, but it's an obvious one for me. Just because this happened before either of these two individuals were a part of state government isn't a reason enough for me for another process to have kicked in. So that's all I got to say on that. That's all, Michael. I've said everything I've said everything I'm going to say. Please. So we've not taken a position publicly on that bill. We've had very significant private conversations, and that's not exceptional to this bill. We don't on bills like we don't comment hypothetically on bills. Separately, the actual formula for how this would be paid is still being baked. So I don't want to preempt the Port Authority process, as well as they're thinking through exactly how the public and private players come together here to be discussed when we've got an answer. Please. Well, it goes at some point, it will go before the Board of Commissioners as they refresh and update the capital plan. So it's part of a process that's typical at the Port Authority. Both sides of the Hudson are represented, well represented, I might add. And it's a process that works that historically and will continue to work quite well. Please. So the question is minimum wage and an expected vote. No. So I just reiterate, we do have a deal on minimum wage, and I think the expectation is that vote will happen, I believe, by the 31st of this month. And I'm looking forward. Got the pen right here, ready to go. And it's and it's a deal that I think is a really good deal. And we're very proud of where we came out on that. Adult use marijuana continues. I get to supporting it, as I've said many times before, primarily through social justice. We have the widest white, non-white gap of persons incarcerated in America. It's not the only contributor, but the biggest contributor is low-end drug crime, in many cases low-end possession crimes. I get to a yes based on that first and foremost. But with the opportunity to undo social injustice, get the business out of the hands of the bad guys, protect our kids, regulate an industry, and by the way, tax it and earn some money, that combination remains, if we can achieve that, compelling. We have another leadership meeting coming up. I still believe we can make progress on this, and I believe folks are approaching it in a spirit of goodwill on all sides, and so to be determined.
Governor, why make this announcement today? You're on the deadline, you hope to pressure the Port Authority board. Why now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. We could do this, if it's related to infrastructure, we could do them every day of the week, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. As Kevin O'Toole mentioned, we're digging out, and as did Rick, we're digging out of, and Diane lives this every day, years and years and years and years, if not decades in some cases, of neglect of our infrastructure. But the notion of getting this Terminal 1 up and running as a first step in what will be a multi-step process, it's essential. It occurs to all of us. This needs to get replaced and updated. And I won't bore you with the details, but you got rubber wheels on cement, as Doug will testify. When you've got cold weather like we've got, you're invariably in challenging circumstances. We cannot go on like that. And I would just say, as a general matter, so I want, now is better late than never, and I want to get this going, and I urge the Port Authority to do just that. When you're selling New Jersey, I'll give you two examples. I was selling it in Israel a couple of months ago. I was selling it to a West Coast company a month ago to plant a flag here. Invariably, you get, how's your transit system working? How's your road infrastructure working? And invariably, what goes through your airport connectivity, cross-country or across the Atlantic or across anywhere else in the world. And it's a huge selling point for us. It's a huge selling point. I know that Rick and Kevin spoke about the collection of the 3 airports, which is an even more compelling selling point. But Newark, literally, individually, has got an enormous amount of attraction as it relates to our economic development plans. And you can't have people showing up here and the trains breaking down. Yes. And we kept stopping. I don't know, Michael. We kept stopping, and it was not a scheduled stop. And I think we were living the reality of this system in cold weather. NJ Transit was 2 or 3 minutes late, but I'm not. That was not the big contributor. The big contributor was the AirTrain. What last one, Ryan? Yeah, I did not read it. I've been told about it. I'm told it was riddled with a lot of inaccuracies, and I'll leave it at that. There's an agenda there. I'm not sure what it is, but we'll leave it at that. I want to thank again the Port Authority, many members who are here, the Newark management, Newark Airport Liberty management team. Catherine, wherever you are, keep up the great work. Jenny Davis, again, belated congratulations on your engagement. To our brothers and sisters in labor, it's great to be here. We live and die this state. We're the densest state in the nation. We live and die based on how efficiently we can move people and things around, and that's why we're here today. Many thanks, everybody.